It's Saturday, June the 23rd at Zuccotti Park. We're waiting for a General Assembly meeting to start at 6 p.m. The meeting is to discuss, according to the literature, what was wrong with previous General Assemblies and how to remedy that. And this is Marsha, one of the knitters, who's been here since the beginning, knitting all kinds of things for the occupiers.
You want to do it right here? Yes. Okay. Is it 6 o'clock?
Yes. It is 6 o'clock. And I was told we should be prompted on time. We got yelled at last time, so I'm trying to be prompted on time.
Well, prompted on time is always on time.
I'm on time. That doesn't mean the thing starts on time.
It's 6 o'clock.
We'd originally said we were going to pull back together.
We're going to pull back together
for a community discussion about the GA.
For a community discussion about GA.
How about we do that?
How about we do that?
I just had one question. Did we want to stay here?
We want to stay here.
Or move more towards the middle of the park where there's more shade?
Move towards the middle of the park where there's more shade and less noise.
How do people feel about moving?
My name's Dan. I need someone to take stack and put our post. We have someone doing live stream. There's the two. So currently our goal, as I define it, is to look for solutions to fix GA. So we can start by going around and give me our names. I don't have the exact specs in front of me, but my approximation is that it had flaws that included that because of its all-inclusive ethics system, that we not exclude anybody. This ended up actually being exclusionary as well, because allowing some people to speak excluded others. Another is that I think there's some agreement on is that we did not define responsibilities and posts of action, and that there was a lack of accountability towards each other.
Like maybe a good place to start would be to think about what those problems were and kind of just go around and reflect.
In fact, I can report back from last week, as we did a lot of this last week.
All right.
So this is going to be a report back of the same discussion we had last week.
Can you stand up?
We kind of bit off a little bit more than we could chew. We had about 3 hours. We said we wanted to talk about two things. What do we want?
What do we want?
And how do we get it?
How do we get it?
We got through one of these. We talked about what we wanted. We didn't really get through how do we get it, because, well, pizza appeared, hungry occupiers, we wandered away.
Take a step back.
So, on the list of things that we wanted, we talked about a formal way to delegate power and responsibility, creating some sort of task-oriented leadership where we could trust people to individual tasks and accept that while this put them above others theoretically in our horizontal movement, that it was this position that was doing that, not necessarily the person, so they were not above anyone else. We wanted accountability, which is a really big tent. We don't really have great ways to do that without a GA, and we were having a lot of trouble doing so formally even with the GA because we haven't really figured out a way to hold people accountable to things that they've done or things that they've said. We also discussed that we wanted shared values and community agreements. Maybe even just something as basic as an etiquette we follow, as the bare minimum of we will act this way and not in these other ways because we say these other ways are not acceptable. We want something to unify us, to help us move in a shared direction. Ideally, this is what the GA was supposed to do, but at the end of things, the GA was mostly talking about money and making new working groups, and we weren't actually talking about going in a direction. There was talk about independent support structures. That was kind of outside of the scope of the GA. It's things like, we want kitchen to come back so people don't starve. We'd like to know where everyone's sleeping. These are things that are a prerequisite on the community before we can have a fair GA. Because if some people at the GA are well fed, and some people about the GA are really just thinking about where the next meal is going to come from, that's not really equal. We talked about visions and goals, and I'm sure several people here could talk more about what visions and goals has been working on, because we're saying we understand that we want this thing, we're not sure what they are yet. We wanted to check in with other occupations and analyze how they've acted and what their GAs have done, so we can learn the lessons of their mistakes, not just the lessons of our own. We want to bring back the community. That's kind of a hard thing to do, so we brought that to direct action on Wednesday, as I promised I would, and we're now talking about, hey guys, do we want to plan a reoccupation? I don't know if we can sleep here, that's not really legal, but maybe just showing up all in the same space all the time would be a great way to rebuild community. We also wanted to take personality out of the decision making. We want to get the right answer, not my answer. My answer is not necessarily going to be the right answer. The group, by discussion, should find the right answer. With too much personality in the thing, you try and find the in-clicks right answer, and that's going to be a different thing. We wanted to define working groups and affinity groups and distinguish these from cliques, because right now, more than anything else, we're kind of in a cliquish system. We're lost in the woods. We don't really have formal ways to get back in touch with each other. We're talking to our friends. That's great, but where did the working groups go? How's all this working? We wanted to have a look at that and see what we could do about it. We wanted to discuss matters of scale, because a GA of about this number of people, we can kind of have a conversation still. A GA of 200 people can't really have a conversation. It's too big to have a meaningful conversation, and then it just turns to like announcements and, hey, don't we feel good about being in a park with this many people? We also talked about setting boundaries for the group, because as our facilitator mentioned, by refusing to exclude some people, we were by definition excluding other people. It was becoming he who can put up with the bullshit longest wins, and that's a fucked up game. Like the principles of solidarity, these things that we had at the beginning, and trying to figure out what Occupy actually cares about as far as values. If we don't share values, why are we all here talking to each other? Consensus doesn't work if we don't have at least some reason to be there. And we also discussed a logistics chain, which again goes back to the we should reoccupy idea, like how can we make sure we can pay Kitchen so that Kitchen can feed us? If we aren't able to talk about money, how do people get fed? When we pulled this all together, we kind of found the shape of 3 different things. We wanted to talk about a central meeting forum and a logistics network. I'm not sure whether that deals with fixing the GA, but it's definitely something Occupy needs to fix. We talked about building from not just where we are now, but to include new people. We talked about investing in the community around us, because they could do a lot for us if we were only to reach out and explain to them what we are, that we're not all dirty hippies who sleep in parks while not wearing clothes. We talked about rebuilding the squandered goodwill that was opportunities we've just let drop in the past 6 months. And we talked about actively soliciting for inclusivity, like trying to bring back all those people who left because they couldn't put up with the bullshit longest. And another chain that we looked at was creating these named task-oriented positions, finding some way to hold them accountable and make sure that there are at least these polls by which work is getting done, and finding some way to fix our process so it's not so inhuman and leads to fistfights. I mean, maybe some way that we have more human conversations instead of the point of process fight. So that's my report back from last week. Perhaps this could suggest some breakout groups of things we want to work on.
Okay, so this is how we'll start.